Hello, everybody. This is Dave Stevens, and welcome to another edition of Dave Stevens Speaks. We are going to have a fantastic, fun time tonight. I am your host, Dave Stevens, and of course, I'm coming to you from the home offices right here in Manchester, Connecticut. But of course, we can't do this without our friends at riverwestradio.com 104.1. So thank you. A big shout out to those guys. And hey, everybody out there for the Disability Channel and on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. It's just great to have all you guys be a part of us and follow us on the Ability MKE Now Network on Facebook and, of course, riverwestradio.com 104.1. So tonight, hey, I've got to tell you who my guy is. And of course, we talked about him filling in and coming out. He was supposed to be my guest next week, but he decided to help me out this week when Alan Moskin, had a family matter. So I wasn't able to have him this week. He'll be on September 10th. But you know what? I got to bring in my guest tonight, Sam Kuhnert. Guy who invented NubAbility, just an amazing guy that I got to know. I've known him for over a year. And Sam, welcome to Dave Stevens Speaks on the Ability MKE Now Network. How's things going out there?
Hey, brother, man, I just appreciate you having me on. Hey, it's going, man. We're going to keep serving these kids. You know, we're not going to let COVID win, right?
Absolutely. And for our listeners and our viewers out there, Sam Kuhnert was born limb different. I think he coined this phrase. And Sam, if you could show the viewers and the listeners would have to listen, Sam was born without a hand. And the cool part about that is, much like me, he didn't let him hold him back. And he's accomplished some amazing things. And for our viewers, you can look at the graphic. For the listeners, I'm just going to describe. He played Little League. He played varsity baseball. He played varsity basketball. He went on to pitch in college. I mean, again, much like Jim Abbott, if you don't know Jim Abbott's story, born with one hand, but that's what Sam did. He learned to transfer with that glove and become an amazing pitcher in college. And Sam, I'm kind of jumping before your story starts, and I want to get back to, where you came from and talk about those struggles that you started out as a kid. Like, when did you know? Now, I know we're normal, but when did you realize you were just a little bit different?
Man, honestly, it was at an early age. My parents held me at home until I was probably about 4 years old. And then they put me in a preschool called Buttons and Bows Daycare. And when I went to this preschool, it was around the first day. I had met this kid named Trent Bigham, who was who became my lifelong best friend. He's such a good guy. I was in my wedding, and me and Trent were playing ball outside or inside on one of those little indoor basketball hoops. And a kid came up to me and said, "Hey, hand me that Megazord," because Power Rangers were big when I was a little kid. If you weren't about the Power Rangers, you weren't cool. And so he goes, "Hey, hand me that Megazord." And I go and I hand it to him, and he goes, "Oh my God, where's your hand?" And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't really have an answer for it. And, that was my first bully. That was the first kid who, because beyond that moment, he continued to bring up that I didn't have a hand and found ways to continue to torment me. But that was the first moment, man. And it's a moment that I can remember like it was yesterday. It's something that stuck with me for my entire life.
Well, I know, you have overcome so much, and people don't realize unless you're missing a body part and you are limb different. And, the struggles that we both have gone through. And I feel like the old Batman handing off to the young Robin as we've mentored each other and kind of, I teach you, you teach me. But what I've learned from you in just a short time, that you put your mind to do anything you wanted to do. So when did you start to realize, I want to play baseball and I want to play sports just like all the other kids out there?
I knew I wanted to play baseball when I was 2. My dad sat me on his lap with a gallon milk jug, and we watched Jim Abbott videos. Because when I was born, my dad, he was an athlete. He could have gone on to play college sports, but he chose to run the family farm instead. And he sat me down on his lap because he had found Jim Abbott. He found that athlete who looked like his son, who his son could potentially aspire to be, or at least show his son that, he was capable of more than he thought. And so I sat there and we watched tape after tape because it was still VHS tapes back then,
Right,
and it was the
right.
ones where you had to wind them with your finger to to rewind them and all that. And we watched tape after tape after tape of the GOAT Jim Abbott, and I fell in love with baseball right then. I fell in love with sports as soon as I could walk. My parents would give me toys and I'd throw them. They'd give me a toy tractor, which wasn't beneficial for my older brother who took one to the brain. Uh,
Right.
but, I was always just trying to throw it or shoot it or do something. I didn't want to sit there and play with toys. And so the greatest gift they gave me was a ball because I played with that thing forever. And then once I got older and got where I could actually play catch with dad out in the yard, we started working. We started trying Jim Abbott's glove transfer, and his exact transfer was difficult to replicate at first, because it was my dad teaching me how to try and do this transfer. And so we worked and worked and worked, and finally we kind of adapted it so it became my own. We found my own way, because whereas Jim Abbott would have his glove flipped right side up and kind of tuck it and throw, I found that if I put my glove upside down on my nub and whenever I threw, I could slide my hand right back in. It just worked out better for me, and I was quicker than. And we actually in college. It's my only claim to fame over the GOAT is that I had a quicker glove transfer than him when I was in my playing days, because my glove, and I think it was like a half a second, but that half a second was still better. And I just absolutely, it was trial and error, and kept going, kept going. I mean, I can't tell you how many balls I took to the body trying to learn how to do this glove transfer.
Now, the struggles that you had when you got good, it wasn't just you're battling on the field and trying to figure out your hand and everything. Once you got good, there had to be animosity with parents that said, hey, this kid's beating out my able bodied kid. My kid has to be better. He has one hand. There's no way. Did you start to get, as your successes, the other opponents and people kind of giving you even more grief because you had overcome so much?
Honestly, there wasn't the animosity from parents more towards that. It was more towards every year I would hear people tell me that I wasn't going to be good enough to play with my peers. I wasn't going to be good enough to keep playing with the other athletes. And despite beating them, despite striking out their kids or competing against other towns and beating them on the mound, they still kept placing that perception out there. But the greatest thing about perceptions is the only one that matters truly is your own and the man upstairs. Nobody else can determine what you're capable of except for yourself. And my family instilled that into me at a very early age by not ever allowing me to use my nub as an excuse, and not ever allowing me to think that I was handicapped or disabled. I absolutely hated the term disabled. That just, I could go on a full on rant
Yeah,
about that.
that's the next show.
But it was always that perception that I would never be good enough to compete with them. And, it was a perception that got placed in the mind of some of my coaches in middle school, just some outer perceptions without giving me a chance. And so they actually cut me from the baseball team my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade year. And when I got into high school, even I didn't have that faith from the coach. I remember first time I took the mound after making the high school baseball team, thinking I had, made it. I finally got my opportunity. We were playing against a team called the Nashville Hornets, and the Nashville team was the country-fed farm boys who, hop off the bus with a dip in their lip, look like they can hit a ball a country mile, and was a team who had beaten us, like 10-run rule almost every year. And so, some of my buddies were nervous to face them, to step on the mound against them, because you're probably going to get shelled. And the coach goes, all right, Kuhnert, you're pitching today. And I was pumped. Here's my chance. This coach hasn't seen the hours after hours after hours that I was putting in at home after practice. And so I was getting warmed up, and over here, hey, we might as well throw Kuhnert at him. We're going to lose anyway. And, you can take that two ways. When you hear someone's negativity, you can take it and let it drown you and let it defeat you before you ever step on the mound, or you can use it as fuel to prove people wrong and just go out there and kick the world's ass, And so that's exactly what I plan on doing. Oh, we're on radio. I don't know if I can say that.
We'll bleep that out.
We'll bleep that one out. My bad. but anyway, just go out there and compete and prove them wrong. And I was determined to do that. And so when I stepped on that mound, instead of being afraid of those hitters, it was kind of like a cockiness, a swag kind of came upon me, and it's like, you don't deserve to be in this box and face me. You have not outworked me. And so when I went on and I beat that team 1-0, I thought I'd earned the respect of my coaches. And that entire year, we had probably 30 games, and I threw in 3. That was the first one. The other 2 were against teams that we were supposed to get beat by, and I beat them. And then my sophomore year was the same thing. They threw me against teams we were supposed to get beat by, and I beat them. I ended up being undefeated throughout my entire high school career as a pitcher. And, a lot of, that doesn't come without the awesome teammates I had, the support, obviously. But to have that, to be able to say that, that you were undefeated your entire high school career is pretty impressive. And, going into my junior year, I was finally starting to get some respect from the head baseball coach who I loved. I loved Coach Kraft. And Coach Kraft put me out on the mound, and he put me in key relief situations to keep us in the ball game or to keep us ahead, And I started garnering respect from him to the point where when coaches from colleges started reaching out my senior year, he told them, yeah, here's a guy. Here's a hardworking guy. Here's somebody who can potentially do it. And it led to a university. Well, they were a college at that time. Now they're a university actually reaching out to me and saying, hey, we want to come look at you.
That's just awesome. Dave Stevens here on the radio here, 104.1 riverwestradio.com. That, of course, is also, you can see it and watch it here on Facebook, the Ability MKE Now, and, of course, the Dave Stevens platforms. We're trying to put it everywhere. We've got it on NubAbility tonight, and Sam Kuhnert is joining us. And, Sam, you also, as you got to that point where you got to college, you had gotten to the levels that you wanted to get, you had a setback and a near-death experience, and it kind of leads us to what started NubAbility.
Yeah, man. So my freshman year of college, I was in the best shape of my life. I just finished our fall baseball season, had just completed the Insanity, which was the big workout program at the time from Sean T, which was absolutely insane. There's a reason they call it Insanity. Was about 6'5", 225, just muscle, no fat, anything. Was feeling really good. And I was a huge, I've always been a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan since I was a kid. And my grandfather somehow got tickets to that year they played against the Texas Rangers in the World Series. And he got tickets to Game 6, which was insane. As a baseball fan in general, that's the type of game you want to be at. You want to be at that comeback, that one where teams, find their inner grit and really push through to achieve their goal and win the game. And we stayed, for that entire game, and I loved it. Loved every minute of it. Came to the point where I wanted to be back in the city. I wanted to be back in St. Louis, which was about an hour drive from our school, just to witness the Cardinals win the World Series. And so I'm sitting there with a couple of the guys on the baseball team and a couple of the guys in the dorm, and we're watching this game, and we're just seeing the Cardinals pull ahead and pull ahead and pull ahead. And we're like, it's like the third, fourth inning. They've got a heck of a lead, and we're like, let's go. Let's go. And we just jumped in the truck. We drove. We stood out and watched the game from the gates, just absolutely awestruck. And then when the Cardinals won, it was absolute pandemonium. I mean, cops pouring alcoholic drinks for minors, just absolutely crazy. People fender bendering each other and saying, go Cards. And, I'm just loving it. It's taking up everything. And then I wake up the next morning in my dorm, not hungover because I did not drink, but woke up in my dorm and could not pick my head up. And once I finally started to get my bearings, I stepped off my bed and I was just super dizzy. Could not really move the way I wanted to. I couldn't, I just did not feel well at all. And so I did what any college kid would do, and I called my mom. I said, Mom, I'm not feeling good. I don't know what's going on. This is something I've never experienced before. She said, okay, what's your temperature? And so she had my roommate, who was my catcher at the time, Michael Marcotte, take my temperature, and it said like 101 or 102, something like that. And she's like, okay, I'm coming to get you. And so she did. She drove an hour and a half to the school, picked me up, took me back home. I started feeling a little bit better that next day. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to school tomorrow. I'm going to go back. I missed a day of class already. I'm going to go back, which, of course, Dave, you know me. I don't really care if I miss a day of class, you know. And I'm like, I'll go back tomorrow. And I woke up the next day and I couldn't pick my head up off the couch. I was the weakest I've ever been. I mean, it literally felt like everything was drained from me. Like there was no chance I could even pick myself up. So my dad slung me over his shoulder like a bag of dog feed, took me up to the car, and drove me to Carbondale Hospital, which was the best hospital in our area, and still is. And we get there and we go to the emergency room. The doctor starts taking my numbers, everything. Like, oh, we got to hospitalize this kid immediately. He's got a dangerously enlarged liver and spleen, and he is severely dehydrated. We need to hook him up to fluids and get him up to a room immediately. So they get me up to a room, and that was the first of a week that I spent in that hospital. In that week period, I ran fevers of 105 degrees. I was delusional. I was seeing all kinds of hallucinations. I couldn't hold myself up to use the bathroom. Like my dad would have to literally stand up behind me like like a puppet, and just hold me up by my arms in order for me to go to the bathroom, and walk me like this to the bathroom, just making motions so I could get my feet under me. And, I was having these violent chills. I mean, like, it felt like somebody was standing over top of you and literally just shaking the life out of you. I mean, it was something I hope I never have to experience again. And in that week, they couldn't figure out what was going on. They were trying everything. They were treating me for everything, and they could not figure out what was going on. They couldn't get me to keep food down. I was already down 20 pounds by day 6. And so they decided, hey, let's do a lymph node biopsy. His lymph nodes are super inflamed. Let's see what's going on there. So they do a lymph node biopsy, and they decide we can't do anything for him here. We can't do anything for him at Carbondale. So let's ship him off to St. Louis University Hospital. Since his liver numbers and everything is decreasing, his organs are kind of going in the wrong turn. Let's send him to a specialist. Let's send him to Dr. Bacon, who was Winona Judd's liver doctor. And so they send me out to St. Louis University Hospital by ambulance. We get there, we get up to our room, and my mom's phone rings. She answers it and she hits her knees. And I'm thinking, crap, what is this? And then, my dad, who taught me to be a stone growing up and never show emotion, never to show that anybody ever got to you, she whispers to him, and I had never, ever seen my dad cry, ever. My entire life, I had never seen him. I had seen him yell quite a bit, a lot of me, but never cry. And when he answered that, he talked to my mom, and she whispered that to him, he hit his knees crying. I'll never forget that moment, because in that moment right there, I realized that it was real. I realized that everything I was feeling was real and something is not right. And those next 7 days, my fevers continued. My livers and organs kept, they were going in the wrong direction. Everything was getting worse. Nothing was getting better. And in that moment, when my mom got that diagnosis from that doctor, I got ahead of myself. But when she got that diagnosis from the doctor, she said he has acute multilymphatic multicentric Castleman's disease, which at the time in 2011 was untreatable, and it had a 90% fatality rate in a few weeks to a few months after being diagnosed. So basically, I was told, you've just achieved your dream of playing college baseball, and now your life's over. And so the fight began, basically. The fight began. And as I've laid in my hotel bed, I really got to thinking about, everything I wanted to do in life. I want to be a dad. I want to be an uncle. I want to see how far I can go in baseball. I want to see what I can do with my foundation of ability. I want to see what can come from that. And it really makes you start, when you're given that diagnosis that your life's over, you really start thinking of the type of life you were living at that time and the type of life you lived up to that point. And man, it was not a good one. I was hurting people. as a young age, I had a really strong faith in God, but uh, once I got older, I started to become more egotistical and claim everything that it was me, that I had done everything. And so I really got to thinking, was I living the type of life that would get me to heaven? If I died tonight, am I going to heaven? I don't think I was at that time. I really don't. I still believed in God, but I was not following. I was not walking. I was not, walking the walk, as they say. And I realized at that point that I had to do something to show him that I'm for real, that I'm for real about my walk. And so I reached out to every single person who I felt like I had done wrong. I may not have reached out to everybody I'd done wrong because there's people you probably wrong in your life that you don't realize it. But everybody who I knew I had done wrong to, and just asked them to forgive me, told them that I was sorry and asked for their forgiveness. And, that's one of the hardest things a human being can do, is to ask someone to forgive them for wronging them. That's incredibly difficult. And at that time, I couldn't really talk because I was, just out of it, so weak. So I texted him this. And I remember the responses was just mind blowing how many people forgave me, and many of them who didn't even know the situation that I was in, that were humbled by me actually asking for forgiveness. And after I had gotten their forgiveness, I realized there was someone else who I had wronged for many years, and it was time for me to be a man and own up to my mistakes. And that person was God. I realized that I had not been the person I was supposed to be, the person he had created me to be, and that I had used the platform that he had given me for selfish needs rather than for his purpose, to serve his people, to serve him. And so I got to talking to God, and I said, God, first, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for this life you've given me. I want to thank you for all the blessings you've given me, for allowing me to live out my dream, for all of the people that you've put into my path. I don't deserve this, and I cannot thank you enough for choosing me for these, for this purpose. I cannot thank you enough for everything you've done for me. And if this is my time to go, I understand, and I want to go with you. However, if you give me a second chance, I promise, I give you my word, that I will live this life to serve others, and more importantly, to serve you. And in that moment, Dave, I felt a sense of ease kind of come over me. My numbers and everything stayed the same. They were still going really bad, but I just felt like a sense of peace had come over me, like I had released everything and given it up to him. And now, it was just light, lightweight. And then my school has a prayer visual that night. The preachers are there praying for me. Everybody's getting me ready. It's not looking good. And my school has a prayer visual that night. And I hear that people hear about me asking forgiveness and ask for this. And several of them came back to Christ that night. And I thought, if anything else, if I died tonight, if anything else, the fact that, my struggle has been used now to serve others and to bring others back to you, that to me was a win. If I were to die and people came back to you because of it, that's a win. And the next day I woke up as normal as you possibly could on day 14. I didn't have a fever. I had an appetite. I was still 40 pounds down. But I had an appetite. I was pink after being jaundiced forever. And I had a spirit and energy that I hadn't had for 2 weeks. And the doctors had no idea what had happened. None. They tested me for everything under the sun. They poked and prodded me so much you'd have thought I was Texas barbecue, and they couldn't figure it out. So they had to let me go home. I went home on day 14 after being told I was going to be dead in that time, which is it makes me know God gave me that second chance.
So then you made that deal with God and you decided to create NubAbility. I mean, so, tell us where that started, and because you really do make an impact in a lot of lives. NubAbility.org, if you want more information. It's a great organization. I've been a part of it for a year now. I'm on the board, and they're changing lives for limb different athletes. And Sam, I talk about the lives that you've changed because you've made an impact in a lot of people out there. And, because you're able to do these amazing things, you impact people like, Brad Vineyard and Will Walker and Tim Barrett, who's now joined us on
man.
now. And we're kind of ambushing Sam here as we wrap up. And we're going to head into the next hour, but we've got some amazing people here that are going to join us. Timmy, of course, you remember his story from the summit last year with Brad working with him to get on the box. Tim, of course, Bannon was born without arms, but an amazing young man. He's doing some amazing things out there, showing people. Our video went viral, and it really, really kind of helped put us on the map. And now, Tim, you're doing your thing. You're working on school. You're making presentations. You're also kicking football. And, you're doing cool. And then, of course, I got our buddy Will Walker. Will, of course, has been battling cancer, lost his arm, but he's an amazing guy, and we're going to, want to focus on the things, the positives that you have brought to NubAbility. So, Sam, I know you're a little overwhelmed, but
man,
guys, say hi, catch up.
Hey, what's up, guys?
No.
Man, you guys are looking older. Good Lord. Brad and I are getting older. One of those two is happening, man. This is awesome. How you guys doing?
Thank you guys for joining me, and we have a couple of minutes before we have to go move over to the other side. We're on, of course, riverwestradio.com 104.1, and I'm going to bring you in for a second, Brad. I'll have Tim and Will join us in a little bit, but Brad, the impact that Sam makes, it's impacted your life. I think it's changed our lives, but you've had a lot more influence with Sam, and you witnessed, what happened last summer.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea how much NubAbility was going to change my life. When I went to camp, I'd known Sam for, about a year and a half before that. We got together some workouts and kind of got to know each other. And when he asked me to help coach and be a part of that, I had no idea how much it was going to impact my life with, going in and trying to have this idea that you want to influence these kids, you want to motivate these kids, you want to make them see that they can do things, and you get to witness that, you get to see, but the impact that those kids have on you as a coach is incredible. But to see Sam's heart in that, to see how much they look up to him, and it really have seen, even though we didn't get to do camp, but just to hear how many kids have been so disappointed and all that they couldn't come to camp, and how much they were looking forward to it and all that stuff. But doing what we're doing now, like even just with the golf clinic, 5 kids that came, I mean, kids want to do these kinds of things, and the fact that NubAbility is there for them to do that, to see that they're different, but they're not different. They're just as capable of accomplishing amazing things, and you see it. I saw it last year, and I wasn't the only one of those coaches that got to. It was such an incredible moment, and still, I mean, people still talk to me about that. I video on such and such. I mean, that's still encouraging people, and it's still relevant because people are amazed at the spirit, and Tim Bannon is an excellent example of a person who has amazing. So, it's good to see Timmy on here again, and it's good to see. And I'm a part of NubAbility, and humble to call Sam my friend, and just thankful that the Lord's allowed me to be a part of it.
Well, we are going to come back in just a little bit. That ends the half hour here on River West Radio 104.1, riverwestradio.com. Thank you guys for joining me. Don't forget to join us each and every week. And, of course, we got Anna Maria Blivens, who will give you guys job updates. And don't forget to follow Marcus Hart He's the guy that can help you transform you. So, Dave Stevens here. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those other good shows. We'll see you guys next week. Stay with us. We're not done yet. We're just done right here on River West Radio. All righty, everybody. This is Dave Stevens back. And, of course, I've got a bunch of people, and I'm going to bring everybody back in. First off, my guest, Sam Kuhnert, tonight. I put you on the spot, right, Sam? I freaked out a little bit. So, I'm bringing Tim back in. Tim is here. Brad Vineyard, and of course Will Walker, and these kids. I just kind of want to let you guys talk a little bit. Tim, obviously the challenge that you have. I don't have legs, you don't have arms. We have a lot of similarities. You use your feet for your hands, and you eat, and you do all these amazing things. But what did it mean when Sam brought you into NubAbility and kind of let you grow and you could realize kind of what this was all about?
When Sam brought me in, I was very young, and I really liked it because sports are my thing. I'm a sport guy. I'm an actor. I'm everything you can imagine under the sun. I am.
Well, I think it's awesome because now you're doing some stuff that, again, I think you probably wouldn't have done if you hadn't have been pushed a little by what NubAbility brought. And, you're doing your homework, you're doing your homeschooling, but you're also trying to play football now. And where did you get that courage to say, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to be just like everybody else?
I really just got that courage from Sam, my mom, a lot of different people in my life that really just helped me throughout everything, like life, sports, and just encouraging me through everything.
Well, Sam, what does it mean to see what you've helped, Tim turn into with the confidence you've helped give him?
Man, it is a humbling experience like no other to see this little boy who I used to play bumper boats with, driving around on a paddleboard and, watching him play volleyball with his feet and, always seeing a smile on his face, to seeing him not only use his platform now to, grow himself, but to grow others and inspire others, to see him using that competitive heart that I've seen for years and finally unleashing it to the world. And it has been truly awing, man. I'm super humbled. You definitely surprised me. You got me in shock, getting to see that young man and to see Will and Brad. This is really awesome. I really appreciate it. And the experience and what it gives me, there's no words for it. Blessed, humbled, you can use them all. And not one of them would fit that mold more than the word that is here that doesn't exist.
Well, Brad, you've been a part of these kids' lives too. I mean, when you witnessed what Tim did, some of the moments I've seen in NubAbility, like holding a field goal and having a kid with one leg kick a field goal, I put that in my accomplishments more than pinch hitting for Darryl Strawberry and those kind of things. So the moments that Sam is allowing us to have, it's got to be unprecedented, right, brother?
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that it's grown. I mean, Sam talks about all the time with his coaches how he wants us ownership in it. He wants us, NubAbility to be ours, and it's incredible that we get to be a part of it. These things, and I'm, like I said a while ago, I'm super thankful for Sam and his work and the privilege to be a part of it.
I got to bring Will back in here for a minute. And Will, it's been an up and down year health-wise for you, but give our NubAbility friends and family a little update about how you're doing, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the things you've been doing.
Right now, I'm doing actually really good. I have chemos. I started a new chemo treatment that is a 2-drug chemo, and it's working. It's helping me a lot, actually, and all my tumors that they're seeing they're shrinking, and which is awesome, which is amazing. And I'm waiting because they came out with a T cell trial. So when I'm 16, I can go on that trial, and hopefully it is a cure for me, and which will be awesome. So I can get back into all my activities and sports. I'm just super excited.
Well, that's tremendous, because I know it's been, up and down, but you got a Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl, and you got to go to the Super Bowl, and I know Sam. We were down there for our camps, and we followed what you did. But Will, you've got him right here. We can put him on the spot. What does Sam Kuhnert mean to you?
Sam, he means a lot. I was playing baseball, and going into having my arm cut off, it was hard to transition into everything, just learning how to play with one arm. And Sam really, out the world, he invited me down, and it was amazing. And he helped me learn how to do everything, play all my sports, And he also really impacted me and prayed for me and had everyone there praying. And Sam has just really helped me out through my cancer and my having one arm, and Sam, it's just, I can't say enough.
I love you, buddy. I love you.
I love you too.
Man, I'll never forget the first time I met this young man, and he's playing catch with his brother, and he's got a glove sitting up on his head as he's playing catch with him, and I'm like, oh no, that's not gonna go good. I was seeing, the broken nose and everything coming up. All it takes is a little brother not to pay attention one time, and I was like, let's make you quicker, let's get you better, and within that 2 to 3 day time frame, I had him throwing against a bounce back net as hard as he could from 10 feet away, fielding it cleanly. And whenever I learned of his struggle with cancer and that it was back, I have a good friend named John O'Leary who's a motivational speaker, and one thing that John says is, what more can you do to serve others? What more can you do? And so I knew that I had to, Will was going to be in my life forever. Now, at that moment, I knew that there was more that I could do for this kid than baseball. And that morning when his mom told me that the cancer was back, everything else disappeared. The camp disappeared. The only thing I saw that day was Will Walker and God. And I knew that I needed to bring those two together. And so when I asked my camp to pray for Will, and every single person, whether they believed or not, came forward and laid hands on him, that was the most humbling thing in the world. And then as his fight continued and as things were progressing, I knew I had to come and see the man. I knew I had to come and see him and, remind him how special of a human being he was and how important it was that he continued that competitive drive and that fight in life. And we went out and we had a good time. We went to a Royals game. I got Jim Abbott to send him a message, and really just get out there to show him how important it is for him to keep fighting, because he's not just fighting for himself. He's fighting for his entire Nub fam. We're right there with him. We've got his back. We're going to bolster him up. I'm going to hold him up. I'm going to do whatever I have to for this kid, because I love Will Walker, and I love his heart, and I love his family. And, man, I am incredibly proud of you, Will. I can't tell you how hard it is to watch you fight without us, how hard it is to see you going through this, but to see your heart, to see everything that you have brought forth as a young man and as a kid, and to use this as a platform to inspire others with your funny videos with One Arm Willie. Man, I'm incredibly proud of you. I am so proud of you. I am proud of every single NubAbility kid, but I am incredibly proud of you for everything you're doing. And you keep fighting. And you always remember that I've got your back, and you're right here with me, bub.
Well, Will, I think Will wants to get back to playing some video games. Do you have any parting shots before you get back to Call of Duty and Fortnite or something, Will?
I just want to thank everyone um, for all the love that you guys give me. It's appreciated like a ton. And thank you, Dave. And Dave, you've impacted me actually. You know, you showed me how you did everything, which I thought I couldn't do everything, but you did. You really showed. And Tim, you know, it's incredible. You know, I stayed the week with Tim, and it really just blew me away. And all you guys that encouraged me, you know, to keep pushing in that. Even though that I'm struggling, you guys are really struggling, but you guys can really do it. And whenever I see you guys and everyone that loves me and prays for me, just keeps pushing me every day. And I can't thank you guys enough.
We love you, Will. We're part of Will's Warriors. Oh, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, that's what NubAbility is all about, you know. I love you, Will. You keep on. You're not fighting because you're winning, and you're gonna win. And we're gonna see you at the next baseball camp, and we're gonna play some catch again. So,
Yes, sir.
thank you, Will. Thank you for being a part of this, and we'll say goodnight to you, my brother. We love you. Say goodnight to your mom.
All right.
You, bud.
Love you guys.
Give your mom a hug for me, Will.
That's Will Walker. You don't find many people that are that have a bigger heart or a much bigger hero. So thank you, Will. And Tim, I know you want to go because you got schoolwork and stuff, but just your thoughts of what Sam, Brad, everybody with NubAbility, you know, allowing your normal to be your normal.
I'd just like to thank Sam. He's a really good guy. I've known him since the beginning. Like, I feel like we're together forever now. Like, we're attached.
Absolutely. I'll always be your arms, bud.
Into my triathlon, that was amazing. I loved it so much. Brad, you're another one out there, man. You're the one, along with the other coaches at camp, that helped me complete that box jump. I was like so nervous and so irritated at myself that I could not do it because I know I could do it, and I did it, and it couldn't be done without you, Sam, and all the other coaches at that camp that year.
Well, dude, it just shows you the power of God, the power of love, and the power of belief in yourself. When you get these guys that believe in you, Tim, man, you got a huge life ahead of you. Thanks to Sam, thanks to Brad, thanks to the other coaches. And one day you'll be a coach and you'll teach people and you'll show them that that's your normal and that you put your pants on 2 legs at a time. You know, I put mine 2 legs at a time, and we have somebody pull them up. We do things a little differently. So, Tim, I love you, brother. Thanks again, and best of luck getting through your COVID schoolwork. Get back to work, all right?
Yeah. All right, sounds good. We'll do.
Thanks, Tim. All right, Tim, Brandon. And while I kind of compose myself, Sam, Brad, pretty magical little bit of time we had there, huh?
Oh, man. That was incredible. That was incredible. Brad, do you remember when we sat down at Buffalo Wild Wings and I talked to you about being a coach? What I told you? What was it that I told you before we ever met?
You
That
told
night for dinner.
you had an opportunity. Before we met, you wanted me to pray about an opportunity you were going to ask me. So I really didn't know exactly what you were going to ask, but I knew that whatever it was, I knew that the Lord had plans for it. So, yeah, I remember like it was yesterday, Sam.
I mean, and to see.
I was humbled that you would ask me because I know normally to be a head coach for NubAbility, you have to have at least a year experience. But I hadn't coached before, but I got to. So the fact that you thought enough of me to ask me to do that was very humbling. So, yeah, I look back on that day as a day that my life kind of changed. Like that began that process of becoming a part of that, and man, it's so. Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
That's awesome.
So
It's like, this is
your brother.
life.
Same here, bro. Always.
We're getting too mushy here. We
Yeah.
got to put things up. But you're listening to Dave Stevens Speaks, the Ability MKE Now family of platforms. I'm Dave Stevens, and of course, don't forget me. The host of this show. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those fun pages that I try to do my zany things. And again, thank you to riverwestradio.com for the first part of the show. We have Ability Fest coming up October 26th to November 1st. And of course, you want to make sure that you get registered for that, everybody in the Milwaukee area. And of course, Anna Marie Bliven, who has job opportunities and insight and things for people to get online job opportunities. You can reach out to her and contact her through Prosperity Pathways or Onward or Upward. And of course, Marcus Hart has the Transfer You Media Network. You can follow him, learn how to change life. He's a veteran who's made an impact and, of course, has a lot of shows on the Ability MKE Now platforms on Facebook. So getting back to my guests, it's been an amazing, emotional night. I didn't expect to have, the success that I had of trying to get everybody together, especially on the fly, and, having Sam join me and, on the pinch. You were supposed to be on next week, but I appreciate you being here, and Brad helping me get chance and getting everybody involved. I mean, it's just one of those things that when you do good, you get to meet good people. And our story, Sam, you and I meeting last year, because of Jim Abbott, because I was watching the Jim Abbott special, and I tweeted you and said, NubAbility is amazing. Here you can see Sam eating a power dinner after we were doing our thing here. But for our paths to cross kind of by the quirky way it did, and you've impacted my life, and you've given me a new term where I say I leave my legacy, because now I know I can work with NubAbility and Brad and all the other coaches because I have a little bit to give, and this old man still has a little bit to teach. And so I'm really being a part of what you guys are doing and what NubAbility is all about.
Man, Dave, and I'm not only mentoring you. You have mentored me more than you would ever know. The opportunities you've given me to go to AT&T Stadium and to meet the people that you've introduced me to, in hopes to further my career, in hopes to amplify the platform, not only for the NubAbility platform, but my personal platform. Like you putting together this collage, that is a very, very big example, of everything that you have done for me, taking me to the Super Bowl, to continue to try and build a career and be able to inspire others. Is just everything you've done is incredible. And what you told me that day in Dallas, right after the AT&T Stadium, was something that will stick with me forever. You told me you have done so much for so many people. I want to do something good for you. And it was the first time someone had really invested in just me. And that was super powerful, and I can't thank you enough for that. And I know we cried that day in the car, so we're not going to cry now, Dave Stevens. So.
Oh, well, I'm glad people are watching this and can see I'm a big set of tears here. But, Brad and I have cried together. We've all seen some amazing things. And I think, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and when I speak and I do things a little differently, NubAbility is a little different too, because it's a very family-based organization. Your mom and your dad support you. You have a brand new, beautiful wife who you just got married to, and is a big part of your ups and downs of weddings and postponements and things like that. But that's what makes it so awesome and so appealing, because you guys care, and it's like, we've had our setbacks this year with no camps, but I'm so excited to get back out there. Everybody wants our camps, and we can't do them right now. And that's, I think, the biggest frustration is we can't help these kids right now, and they're missing something, and stuff that you and Brad provide, they need.
Yeah. When I first saw kids being held back and not allowed to participate in sports, and God instilled that vision of NubAbility in me, I had no idea what he had planned. I had no idea. So I started doing a little social media tutorial thing for kids with limb differences, and I kind of thought, okay, maybe this is all God wants me to do. And then when he gave me that second chance and we actually had our first camp and we had 19 kids show up from all over the country, I felt like it was what I was meant to do. And now fast forward to this year, Dave, and because of coaches like you and Brad and people who have put their heart in to serve these kids and to give them opportunities that we didn't have, and to give them opportunities to learn from coaches like them and mentors like them, to grow it to a camp that has been in 9 different states, a camp that has served over 1,500 limb different youth from 48 states and 11 countries. That's not just me. Everybody wants to say Sam Kuhnert did this, Sam Kuhnert did that. I didn't do it alone. I had not only my family, but I had my non-blood family. I had my Nub family. I had the coaches who said, I want to make this change with you, and took that leap of faith and came in with their hearts on their sleeves and ready to serve these kids. That's why NubAbility is successful, because I have coaches who have hearts to serve. And that's so important, and when I talk about a heart to serve, you look at the Bible, we're going to get in that, and Jesus loved everybody. He loved every single person, no matter what their background was. And that's what he do as people, is to love everybody. And so I'm determined with NubAbility that we're going to love everybody. We're going to love every sexual orientation. We're going to love every belief, every religion. And by love them, it means we're going to be there for them and be a family. The greatest thing about people always preach about, you want to be a team. You want to be a team. No. A team has one goal. A team has one goal, win, right? A family wants the very best for every single individual member. They don't want you just to contribute to their success. They want you to have your own success. And that's why we're a Nub family, because we're determined to get the most out of every single person. Families, kids, coaches alike, we are determined for every single one of them to serve and love. And that's why NubAbility succeeds. It's because we love everybody and truly love them.
Yeah, and I would completely affirm everything that Sam just said, because he doesn't just say that on here to sound good. I mean, it's real deal. That is truth. What is expected of the coaches to kids, to encourage, challenge these kids, and we're put in that position to do that. So I can't stress enough how incredible it really is. And we can say that and say that and say that, but until you see it firsthand, I didn't know what to expect my first camp. No, I didn't know exactly how it was going to go. I was, my first time, and I've got lots of responsibilities as a head coach, trying to come up with, for these kids in the weight room and different things. But Sam just puts you in. He just says, all right, just, figure it out, right? That's what NubAbility is all about, is adapt to whatever's going on. I'm a right above the knee amputee. I've been that way for about 8 years. So I've had to adjust, and that's what these kids live with. It's to adjust and having to figure it out, and how, making it work with whatever you got. Dave, I remember when you and I met there, and that time together, that it's, one thing I learned a long time ago is not to have this self-pity. I was 18 years old, diagnosed with bone cancer, and I learned real quick that it could always be worse. I could have one that was terrible, that was not curable. Thankfully, praise the Lord, my cancer was just in one place, and they got to take care of it. But I learned really at a really young age that self-pity is not a healthy thing. I didn't want people to feel sorry for me because I was chemo and dealing with all people to feel sorry for me when I lost my leg back in 2012. And that's the that's the message we want to tell these kids, is not to feel sorry for yourself, but to see your limb difference as something that you can use to motivate others. I mean, that's the thing. And one of the reasons that I still try to compete and still power lift is not just because I want to win. They're just sitting around collecting dust, but somebody looks at what I do and they see what I'm doing with one leg, they would, man, if he's doing that with one leg, why do it? You know, what's mine? So I don't want to be that guy that, you know, uses, you know, his prosthetic as a crutch, or for some self-pity or whatever, but and that's what I hope these kids, when they come to camp, see, is that just, yeah, you're limb different, but you know, the strongest kid on the team, or the best player on, you know, the best athlete in your school, you know, just make it work. You know, put in the time, put in the work, and it's gonna pay off. So that's what, to me, like, to see these kids in the weight room, they want to get better. You know, they want to get stronger. They want to get faster. They want to best athlete they can be. So it's a privilege of mine. Again, I've said that about 3 times on here, but I'm thankful to be a part of it.
Well, I'm glad I'm better for knowing you guys. And you know, so as we wrap up here, Dave Stevens here, Sam Kuhnert, and a host of other NubAbility guys. It's been a great night. As we wrap, Sam, you know, it's been an up and down year, as we talked about, but we talked about earlier too, the family, your mother, who plays a big part, and your dad, and now your wife, you know, as far as all being a part of the NubAbility family. But what people don't realize, or maybe they do realize, and sometimes that's the biggest cross you bear, is you're very faith-based, and you're not going to change that. And I know sometimes that doesn't appeal to sponsors or people by saying, well, he's going to talk about God, and he's going to thank God, and I get enough of that Tebow crap. And it's like, but it's real and it's genuine, and you've actually had to have people say, well, you know, can you tone it down a bit? What do you say to those people, and why is faith so important for NubAbility?
Well, man, faith is so important to NubAbility because, you know, it was founded through my story, and God gave me this story. You know, God put up every opportunity. He gave me that second chance of life to really bring His vision to fruition. And why it's so important to me is because the Bible tells us, you know, if you deny God in front of man, you'll be denied by God. And all the relationships that I have built on this earth are wonderful, and I am going to love them forever. But this life, everything that I give this life, is not for me, and it's not for those relationships, but it's for God. Because this life is temporary. I'm looking for that eternal life with Him. So I'm going to give everything I have to this life and continue to serve Him, because, you know, the one thing that my daddy always told me growing up was, if you ever give somebody your word, you keep it. I gave God my word, Dave. So I'm going to keep it. I'm going to continue to serve until this heart stops. And then I hope that everything that God has allowed me to build, not that I've built, but that He's allowed me to build through NubAbility, keeps beating long after this heart stops. And I have no doubt. I really do. I have no doubt that if I were to die tomorrow, that one of my coaches would come in and take over. Because
and we're COVID free and all those good things, Sam and Brad and all the coaches will be back out there trying to make a difference. And of course, Sam has a book. You can go to Amazon.com. It's a bestseller, right, my friend? How's that going?
Man, it's been truly humbling to see people invest in the story, and to see my book being read in different countries, and people to see my story, because it's not my story. You know, that's the one thing I always try to get across to anybody, is that your story doesn't belong to you. God didn't give you the story to keep to yourself. He gave you the story to share it with others so that their life might be impacted in a positive way. And so, you know, when I wrote this book, I had one goal. This book is meant to impact one life. This book has shattered that goal, and I'm truly humbled and blessed to say that the story God gave me has made impacts on others' lives.
Hey, well, you continue to make an impact on lives. Your family does. Everybody who touches NubAbility starts to make an impact on those lives. So I want to thank you for being a part of this tonight. I hope we didn't embarrass you too much and put you on the spot with This Is Your Life, Sam Kuhnert. But Brad, any closing statement or thoughts as you kind of just witnessed just some beautiful moments tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to see. It's always good to see, and we don't live too far away from anytime we get to spend some time together, it's always a joy, always a privilege and a blessing to me, and to get to see him on camera tonight, and that's pretty special, and seeing those guys makes me want to get back to these camps even more so than I do. Dave, it's always a joy to see you, brother. I appreciate what you poured out, and you do some amazing things yourself. So we're thankful for guys like you as well that are willing to volunteer and be a part of it and share your life with these kids and your wisdom and encourage them as the way that you do. So thank you too, brother.
Brad, thank you. And where can people follow you? And I know you've got a big lifting program on Instagram and all kinds of stuff. So how can they see the lives that you're making an impact with?
Well, I do Instagram and Facebook is really all I do on media. So my Instagram is at Vineyard Brad, VINYAD BRAD. My last name, my first name. I'm on Facebook as well. Sponsored by Victus Powerlifting. You got the thing there, but extra E in there, Dave. You might check that.
That's bad spelling on whoever
in the between the.
Well, someone should have. I'm trying to do everything here.
So anyway, yeah, I try to post several videos a week just to try to encourage people and motivate them to get off the couch and do something. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well, thank you, Brad. Thanks for joining us. Sam, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, but you'll probably take 2 minutes. So go ahead.
No, I just want to thank you, Dave, for giving me this opportunity. I want to thank all those who shared the Tim video from Dave's Facebook, from our social media, because you helped make an impact on NubAbility, whether you realize it or not. You guys helped give Tim that courage to go on and play football. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for all the continuous supporters who have been donating to NubAbility. If you're able to give, keep giving, because we're going to keep doing these camps. We're not going to let COVID win. We got our game face on. We got our boots strapped up, and we're ready to get back to work. We're continuing to hold clinics. We're doing it in safe manners, and we're going to continue to serve these kids. COVID will not beat NubAbility.
All right. Well, by the clock on the wall or wherever the clocks are these days, that's going to do it tonight. From my buddy Sam Kuhnert, Brad Vineyard, and everybody else out there who supports us for the Disability Channel, Ability MKE Now, and I don't know, all the other platforms that you guys are watching me on. This is Dave Stevens. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything you possibly can. We'll see you next week on Dave Stevens Speaks.